Hello team! I can now successfully be one of those welcome back channels, not only because this is now my second video, but also because I've somehow managed to con about 28 of you into being subscribers, which is wild because I never thought I'd have any of those. So, this time I'm back and with my older sketchbooks, which you would have seen a glimpse of in my last video, just to talk about something that kind of popped into my mind when I was flicking through these, and that's the fact that the uglier my sketchbooks became, the more art I actually made. So, grab a snack, some sort of beverage, and feel free to play this in the background while you do something more productive. Alrighty, I'm assuming most of you can read. So what I wanted to do with this video was just talk about how much pressure I used to feel with my sketchbooks to make them aesthetically pleasing and like, well, a typical YouTube sketchbook. Like, I love watching sketchbook tours, which is why I ended up making one myself as my first YouTube video. But sometimes it's hard not to compare yourself to all the amazing artists that are here on the platform, which is obviously the golden art rule number one. Don't compare yourself to others because everyone's art styles are different and all that jazz, which is wholesome as heck, but is also hard, especially when you're first starting out. And for me, especially because I was watching sketchbook tours at a time when I was just first getting into keeping a sketchbook. So it set me up for some incredibly unrealistic expectations. So here I have two of my older sketchbooks, and there are only two because before that I didn't really keep sketchbooks unless I had to for my high school art classes. I didn't really see a point. I just drew on loose paper and put it wherever, which probably wasn't very effective, but here we are. Right, so this is my first sketchbook. It was started in January of 2017 and finished in July of 2017, so pretty speedy for me with finishing sketchbooks because I'm bad at it. The inside of which, I'm not going to bother with the outside stuff because that was in my first video, but the inside, I tried to get super creative and aesthetic by printing out drawings from artists I followed on Instagram whose art I really liked and who was a huge source of inspiration for me, just so I could carry that inspiration with me all the time. The problem with this is that it took a while because I had to go on Instagram and download people's images and then cut them out and paste them, and it was a whole thing, and I'm lazy, so I haven't done it since, but I really liked how it looked and I wish I had any form of patience or will to do anything anymore. But that's not the point of this video. Let's look at the actual art inside. What you may notice, especially even from these very first cover page sort of things, is that I tried super hard to make every piece its own like finished work in my sketchbook, like with line art and coloring. Like, of course, there was the occasional pose practice, and oh, it's Keith and Lance, there's gonna be so much Voltron in here. This was 2017. It was my peak Voltron obsession period. Just pretend you don't see it. It's fine. But yeah, everything was its own piece. Every page tried to be its own thing, and like this page especially, or these two pages, this spread especially. The camera was out of focus. I hate everything. But this page especially, I just wanted it to be a full-on piece, and I still, even 3 years later, think it's like a good piece. I think it looks great. I like the composition, I like the characters, I love the vague angst about it. This was at a period in my life where I thought Shiro and Allura would be endgame, but it took a lot of time and would have been even cooler as a piece on a single piece of paper, a big enough piece of paper, and something that I could dedicate time and effort to, like a lot of time and effort, the kind of stuff that it would deserve, but I didn't. Here's another 2-page spread. that became a full-on piece. This one at least has my 2 OCs in it. Scout, you would have seen in my other sketchbook, and this is Julian. And side note, did anyone read the Watercast fanfic? Like, if you know, you know, but either way, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with doing a sketchbook like this, especially if it brings you joy and it inspires you, and that's just how you want to live your sketchbook life. But the problem for me is that I was working so hard on trying to make my sketchbooks as nice as possible and have them have their own full-on finished pieces in them that I didn't do any art outside of my sketchbook. And also my sketchbook became a huge source of stress for me. If things didn't look nice, it would bum me out. And I'd end up having a whole lot of art block and be down about how ugly my art was. And I don't know, towards the end of my sketchbook, I do kind of just give up on it. Every now and then I try to put in a full-on piece, but it wasn't something that worked for me. And it just was not a super great time for me creatively as a person who likes to do art, because it kind of made me hate doing art. And I spent the whole time thinking, why can't I do artworks that look like actual people's anywhere on Instagram or on YouTube? And everything I did felt inadequate because I was trying so hard to make my sketchbook a portfolio, really. I think that's what I was trying to do, and that's what I thought the sketchbook was for, rather than being a sketchbook, like somewhere that you're supposed to plan actual artworks that you want to do, and just to test things out, to do some practice, like pose practice or anatomy practice, or any of that kind of stuff. Like, I think I just had this unrealistic expectation of what a sketchbook was supposed to be and how you're supposed to use it. Which meant that I needed to revamp how I did things with my second sketchbook to make sure that I was actually living my life the way I wanted to, and not the way I thought it needed to be. So this second sketchbook, which you can see, perhaps you can't, was started in July of 2017, and it doesn't have an end date because I don't think I actually finished it. Like, really, I think there are so many blank pages in here. I kind of just abandoned it for the sketchbook you saw in my other video. However, this sketchbook kind of blossomed something inside of me creatively. That's a word, creatively. So, I was still in my Voltron phase. Don't at me. This is Gala Keith and Altean Lance. But anyway, this piece, this sketchy, coffee-stained, ripped piece of paper, was a sketch I did on a train ride home from uni. And I saw an Instagram post by, I think it's Niane. I can't remember. I'm sorry. I will post her profile. You'll know what I mean when you see her picture. It was just a portrait I did of her on my way home. But this messy, scrappy thing turned into this. And that's the thing. Like, it was messy, but it really inspired me to do something. This was my cousin just scribbling in my sketchbook. These girls are sketchy, and I don't know how I decided which lines I would turn into line art, but here we are. But these girls were the planning sketches for this painting. This drawing is a finished piece, but I did want to highlight it because I don't think it got the clout it deserved when I made it 3 or so years ago. It was a drawing of Icarus and the sun I did based on 2 dances I saw on Pinterest, and even today, I think it's a really rad piece, so, you know, hype me up in the comments. You don't actually need to, but it'd be nice. This turned into an art piece. So did this. And this. These did not turn into an art piece, but I did think they were good sketches, so here they are. And this turned into an Inktober piece that I didn't actually like that much, but it was good ink practice either way. This was just a pencil test. But yeah, basically, oh, these guys turn into this. And you can find all of these on my Insta, you know, nudge, nudge. This was the first bit of the mural I showed in my first video. But yeah, basically, this is the ugliest sketchbook I did, but it also created the most artwork, and I was even creating more artwork outside of the sketchbook because I was inspired all the time and making art that I liked and putting down plans, and it was a good time, and it set me up for the sketchbook that I most recently finished. That was a mix between sketches and plans and some finished pieces I did for experimentation and fun, which was a rad concept to me when I first started sketchbooks, because sketchbooks weren't fun, they were work. But either way, some artists don't even keep sketchbooks, especially digital artists. Like, you don't need one to be a good artist, and you definitely don't need to have a nice one. It doesn't make your art any less valid. And on that wholesome note, since I'm trying to keep these videos shorter, I'm cutting myself off here. Next video, I want to do a speed draw of some of the ballpoint pen drawings I've done for my Twitter followers, which you can see here. And I just want to talk about how you don't need expensive art supplies to make good art, and you can make art with anything, even ballpoint pens you find around your house, or ballpoint pens you bought for high school notes that you thought you needed to use in all these different colors to do well, when in reality you didn't. But yeah, let me know if there's anything else you want to see from me, as well as if you've ever had the same sketchbook struggles. Bye, team.